Well, welcome back, family. This is your talented 10th Coach Jay to give you some more content on building wealth, building black wealth for the black family. Not to exclude anyone else, but it appears to me that my community, my black community, has been left behind for whatever reason. I know a lot of times my people have been so taken advantage of through. We look at opportunities like the Black Wall Street when the blacks were out there in Oklahoma thriving, and then it got destroyed. And black people have really never rebound from that as a community, as a whole. We got several ones who are doing well and have done well. But as a whole, as a community, it seemed like we never bounced back from the Black Wall Street that took place and the tragic events that took place there to destroy the black community that was thriving and striving and not just surviving, but they were thriving. And we want to get back to that, and we're going to do it individually. And one of the mechanisms that we have been talking about, one of the vehicles that we're going to use is this Roth IRA, individual retirement arrangement. And we're going to continue to build on the content that we already started with. We used several examples. The last time I was with you, we talked about the married couple. They were only making $19.27 an hour, and they're working 40 hours a week. And together they put together a plan to build wealth for their future and even for future generations. And we talked about how they were taxed. They were making $74,000 a year together as a married couple. They got taxed on the Social Security. We talked about Social Security tax, 6.2%, and then 1.45% goes into Medicare, and with a total between Social Security and Medicare tax, they were paying 7.65% tax on that $74,000. And that amount came up to $5,661. And then we talked about their modified adjusted growth income under the marginal tax bracket, and on that $74,000 they paid $8,415.88 on that money. So we know when you drop those two amounts, coming into their hand at that particular point would be $59,923.12. Now we went ahead and said we were going to go ahead and invest in ourselves because we got a blueprint that we're going to invest for ourselves now, because we're saying that they weren't offered a 401k plan. And so since they did that, that's $14,000 between the two of them, $7,000 for each of them. That's about 19% of investing in themselves through their Roth IRA. And that drops them down to money coming to their hands after taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and also the modified adjusted gross income, their marginal tax bracket. We talked about what that was with the $8,415.88, and then we also now took off $14,000 to invest in ourselves for our future under the Roth IRA. So we're paying taxes on that Roth IRA now, so that when we go to pull out that money in retirement age, 59 and a half and above, general rule, we will never be taxed on that compound growth of that money we did it from the age of 40 to the age of 65, systematically, not taking any money from it. That money at a 10% rate of return, ROR, we will, assuming, once again, 10%, because we know the market goes up and down, but we're assuming just the average of 10%, that money will grow to $1.3 million for their retirement at the age of 65. We talked about how we would use the 4% rule of thumb. Now, we don't go off rules, but we said a rule of thumb. And if they pull 4% off of that 1.3 million, each year they can pull off $55,000 and some change. And if they had start pulling money off of their Social Security benefit, between the two of them, that's $40,000, $20,000 each per year. So we're pulling off of $95,000 off of this money when they only received during their working years $74,000. We're assuming that they never got a pay raise, and as they get pay raises, and the IRA is the Roth IRA is indexed for inflation, then you could start putting in more money. But we're just assuming they never got a raise, and we just stuck with contributing $14,000 a year between the two of them, $7,000 each, into investing in themselves so that they can get to the age 20 years later, 25 years later, from the age of 40 to 65 of investing and working. And they said, hey, at 65 years old, 25 years later, we want to no longer exchange our time for money. We're ready to fully enjoy life without going to work to make money, but we have allowed our money to grow and compound. So when we get to that at age of 65 and we start receiving our Social Security and we're taking $55,000 out of our investment accounts, our Roth IRA that's been building up, guess what? We're able to live life, $95,000 a year, that you're no longer exchanging your time for money. That's where we want to get to, folks. That's where we want to get to. So we want to go into the next part of this with the time that I have remaining. And once again, I like to talk about the three-legged stool when we're talking about vehicles to pull from, money from, once we start getting to those upper ages of life, that stage of life where we don't want to have to go to work to provide for ourselves, the four walls and the vehicles that we need, and even the travel that we want to do. If we decide that we no longer want to exchange our time for money at all, we have two vehicles to pull from. We got Social Security at that age of 65 when we start pulling out. We know we can start pulling out at 62, but it's reduced. We take a permanent haircut for the rest of our life if we pull out at 62, but you can pull out at 62. But we're just assuming we went up to the age of 65. This is the year of 2024. So when I talked about the $14,000, $7,000 a year that this couple individually is contributing to their Roth IRA, this is for the year of 2024. This is the max that you can put in individually, is $7,000. And you, once again, whatever money that you make, you can't exceed putting in $7,000, but you got to have earned income for at least $7,000. Now, where that money comes from that you put into your Roth IRA, that's totally up to you. Now, we also used a scenario last time. We said, hey, we're just going off of the gentleman, assuming they're a traditional married couple of a husband and a wife. We're going off the gentleman making a $74,000 by himself. And it can do the same scenario, because now, even though she does not have earned income, he's able to do a spousal Roth IRA for her, once again, as long as he's got that income of $14,000 or above, to max out their contributions of $14,000. And this makes it really nice for the wife to have an account that she can see, because she's been at home taking care of the household. Or if it's vice versa, maybe it's he as a spouse staying at home, and then she's working, making $74,000. It remains the same. The taxes and everything remains the same. But because it's called a spousal Roth IRA, you can contribute just as much as you contribute to your own. Whoever's the breadwinner, or if they're doing it combined together. Very nice provision in this. And it's a beautiful thing, and I keep saying that because this is building wealth for your future. So when you get to that age, you no longer have to exchange your time for money. Now I talked about the three-legged stool. You got once you go to pulling money out, and I'm gonna lump the Roth IRA and the Social Security together as one leg. And then our next session is coming up. We'll be talking about the 401k if your company offers that to you. And then we're going to also talk about the Grow the Gap Fund. That's where you got this money set aside prior to you reaching the age of 59 and a half, where you can start drawing money out of this retirement account. You can start drawing some money off of this Grow the Gap Fund, and we'll talk about that. This is the three-legged stool, and we want vehicles that we can pull from when we're ready to go into these different stages where we no longer have to exchange our time for money, or maybe we just want to slow down, and we can have different legs of the stool that we can pull from, and we can still sit up on that seat of abundance. All right, so let's go into this a little bit more. I want to talk about the order of withdrawal from this Roth IRA. Now, there are some provisions in here that I touched on last time. I told you already that all the money that you contribute, you can pull out immediately. You just can't pull out the money that has earned compound growth on it, or else you'll be penalized. You can pull out any of those dollars that you contributed of your personal contributions into the Roth IRA at any time, tax-free, penalty-free. Now, if you pull out money from once again, the earnings from the contributions that you put in there prior to the age of 59 and a half, you're going to be penalized a 10% a tax on if you pull out prior to 59 and a half. Now, there's some provisions on that, and I'm going to cover a few in the time that we have remaining. So let's talk about it. Let's say, for instance, you're a first-time home buyer. You can pull out $10,000 for a lifetime max and not be penalized on the money that you pull out, up to $10,000. Also, you can use the withdrawal to pay for qualified educational expenses. Number 3, you can use the withdrawal money for certain emergency expenses. Also, for expenses related to the birth or adoption of a child, up to $10,000. To pay for unreimbursed medical expenses or health insurance if you're unemployed. Also, if you become disabled or pass away. Number 7, you are a survivor of a domestic abuse situation. You can withdraw up to $10,000 without getting that 10% tax for early withdrawal. Okay, we're still talking about that. The distribution is made in connection with federal qualified disaster, up to $10,000 if there's a disaster. $22,000 if there's a disaster that went up. Also, distribution is made due to an IRS levy. Okay. And also the 72T, which I won't even discuss. But I just want to let you know that with this Roth IRA being made available to you and you taking advantage of it, you got some provisions in here that even if you got to pull some money off, you won't be penalized a 10% early withdrawal tax before you're 59 and a half. And I just named them. So this vehicle is a tremendous tool for building wealth, and also to have like a second emergency fund. And it's a wonderful tool to use. My time is running out, but I just want to remind you of those things to put you in remembrance so that as we go to build, I'm going to talk more about our developing a blueprint, a plan, so that we can be able to have other vehicles for emergencies where we won't have to touch this money that we're building for this time period. For this couple, they went from, because they didn't know about investing until they turned 40, and then they ran into Coach J, and Coach J said, let's get on a plan from the age of 40 to age of 65. we're going to build on this with this Roth IRA. Talk to you next time.